Good morning everyone, and welcome to ADN Live. Today we have the fantastic Tom Stanhope, who is coming live with us this morning as one of our ADN founding members. He is here to do his spotlight and to tell us all the wonderful things about video, hopefully jam-packed full of lots of tips and hints, and sharing our preview later on with regards to the promo video that he's done over our Drake's Island tour. So please welcome to the screen the amazing and wonderful Tom Stanhope. Hi.
Good morning, Joe. How are you?
Hello. I think I'm all right. Not too bad. Not too bad. I'm very grateful to be inside today because it's very stormy outside, and just enjoying the warmth and coziness of my home office. So,
excellent.
Good stuff. So tell us all about you. Tell us what Tom Stanhope is all about, what you do, why you do it, and how you can add value to obviously the people watching, because we've got it shared in many places today. So we've got it in the coronavirus business support group, so hi to everyone watching from there. We've also got it on the ADN page and also for our members as well. So over to you, young man. Yes, tell us all.
Thank you very much. Well, my name is Tom Stanhope, and I help business owners grow their business with video. I help them get more visible. I help them get comfortable in front of the camera. I help them understand the technology, and I help them have a good, solid strategy and finally understand their story. So all of these things are kind of tools and techniques and methods that the business owners kind of really need to be getting their heads around. The landscape of marketing and communications, we all know, has changed radically over the last decade.
Mad.
And, particularly video has been a big part of that change. We've gone from, when I started out in my career 20 years ago, I was delivering projects on VHS and, tail end of VHS and DVD. And the idea of us as a business owners be able to go live to large quantities of people, to large audiences, for essentially for pennies, really, it's just inconceivable. But now we have access to tools which we can get in front of people and audiences that are absolutely spot on right for us. But, and here's the thing, you've got to do it in a way that is actually all about driving the right kind of interactions, the right kind of business. And there's a whole bunch of things that you can do as business owners to improve your chances of creating video content. And that's lives like we are now, or pre-recorded content. There's a whole bunch of things you can do to improve the chances that those kinds of content will connect with the right kind of people.
Sounds fantastic. And I think, as I said, obviously it's finding your audience, and obviously we do quite a lot of work in our Ambition Growth Network trying to teach people really about obviously our customer avatars, and also through networking and Zooms. And actually Zoom is although kind of everyone's using it, it is a form of video, isn't it? And I think, again, the way that we interact through our computer screens is just amazing, isn't it? How we can kind of get our voice out there to a bigger audience. So yeah, fantastic stuff. And I think actually, if you aren't doing video, you're going to really struggle, I think, going forward in business, because actually people nowadays, I think with YouTube, with Netflix, with all of the kind of video that we're having, the streaming kind of thing, and we can broadcast and we can get out to millions of people. I think it's really key to get your voice heard, but also your mission and your kind of what your plans are really for your business, and who you are. Finding out who you are as well is really, really important, isn't it, to make sure people connect with you.
It's very much it's kind of as a rapport building tool, it's second to none. If we can't get to meet face to face, then or whether getting to meet face to face has become more complicated. We have to find methods and techniques to make that connection, to make that personal connection with the people that we want to work with. And so it breaks down into roughly 4 areas. So there are 4 areas that us as business owners need to master. And these are in no particular order because they're all hugely important. First of all, there's the creator mindset. And we'll expand on all of these as we go along. Second, we've got the tech. And that takes in everything from the cameras, the filming, the editing, the uploading and the optimizing, the stuff that we're using here now. So there's the tech. Then you've got the strategy. And that's kind of what it sounds like. It's how you put all those pieces of content together to communicate something in a consistent and in a way that connects with the right people and build relationships. And finally, we've got the one that always gets forgotten, and that's the story. You've got to be clear about the story you're telling over your content. So having those 4 areas and understanding and being able to master those 4 areas, even if it's in a kind of just a nice, simple, but kind of well understood way, you're going to be able to start to connect with people in a way that feels authentic, genuine, and is all about building those relationships that actually leads to not just to business, but to business that's to business that you actually want to have. I mean, we've all taken jobs where we think, oh man, but I took it because I wanted the money, or I took it because I didn't have anything else on at the time. And you get into the job and you think, this is hard. But if you're creating that content, you're going to be connecting with people who are kind of your guides, basically.
Right, isn't it? Yeah, I think you've got to resonate with actually your audience, isn't it? Because again, there's going to be people that like you, there's going to be people that don't like you. But again, you don't want to be working with the people that don't like you, because it's just pointless, isn't it? There's enough people in the world to find the right ones for us. And we've got a couple of people watching, actually. I'll just have a look at some of the questions and the things coming in. So Grace chatting. Hello, good morning, Grace. Hi, so Grace chatting. We've had on one of these lives, actually. She was one of the first ones that we did an interview with. So she is from Plymouth as well. And she runs a fantastic group, actually, that I'm part of, called Western Women in Business. So she is a lovely lady. And again, she's encouraged me quite a lot over the years to become more visible and kind of get myself out there. So she's just watching this morning. She's popped a couple of little comments in there, which is really, really lovely. So, and as I said, obviously, just getting that message across, isn't it, with your story and bits and pieces. We've also got Darren. Darren.
Hello, Darren.
Yeah. Although he's Darren's Facebook user. Darren, don't forget to make sure you give permission to StreamYard before you pop it on. Naughty. So this one is Darren Kavanagh. So he's also a member of the AGN group and does fabulous work on video and content creation as well. So definitely he knows what he's doing there from that point of view. And another quick one as well here from Grace again. So I'm getting clearer about my message and the importance of getting it across clearly. I think that's really, really key, isn't it? To actually get it across, but without being salesy, without being kind of too preachy. But actually, when you said the story, I think story is really how we engage with people, isn't it? It's what we enjoy, we love.
We're storytelling creatures, fundamentally. We are a species that has always communicated through stories, whether it's kind of, you look at early cave paintings, there's narrative there. We are visual communicators, and our brains are designed to understand this combination of visual and sort of auditory input, and video is this wonderful combination of all of these things, and it's why it's so effective. It's why you saw the birth of TV in the kind of in the early days of TV in the 50s. Who were the first people that jumped in on it and really, really pushed the creative boundaries of what you could be doing with TV? It was the advertising industry, because they saw the potential and the value right away of using it as a visual communication tool. And that hasn't changed. All we've got now is a more democratized way of doing it. We can go live on our phones. We can have a decent setup to do it. But the ability to communicate a story powerfully and repeatably is just priceless. I mean, what a tool to have, but it's a tool that so many people either don't use or don't use effectively. And it's my mission, as it were. If I have any mission, apart from attempting to be a decent human being, I want to get people doing it, because actually everybody has the capacity to stand in front of a camera and articulate their story, their message, their passion. And a lot of people spend a lot of time convincing themselves that they are not able to get in front of the camera. There's some really interesting reasons why. So have you ever done the thing where you've looked at footage, whether it's pre-record or kind of live, and you go, I hate myself? Who's that on the screen?
Never. Never. We weren't even talking about that just before I went on with my fluffy hair. And and that's it. I think obviously, again, we're not used to being so critical of ourselves. And I think actually for me, being on Zoom constantly through the whole of the pandemic, and like several hours a day looking at my own face. Now, I've never done that before. And I said, I've kind of always slated myself and kind of put myself down, because I think we are those kind of creatures, aren't we? And kind of said, I've got a face for radio. And then kind of tongue-in-cheek wise, but again, it's our verbal communication to ourselves, isn't it? And that self-confidence. But again, I said, obviously, I studied psychology at university. And that was kind of a really interesting thing, because they talked about communication, and I did communication studies as well. And actually, verbal communication is just 5% of the communication that we bring across. The rest is body language. It's our hands, it's our faces, eyes, and it's the way that we actually put our information across, which is why text messages, for example, can be so misconstrued sometimes, because actually the way that we interpret the actual language can be so different, isn't it? Because you can say the same sentence twice with a slightly different tone or speed or with aggression, and actually it sounds completely different, isn't it? And I think actually video for me is something I've just had to get into and just practice and practice and practice, and know that I'm never going to be perfect, and that's okay.
No one is. Not even see pros. I mean, this is it. Perfection is something that's impossible to possibly get. And actually, there's some really interesting research. So there was some research that was done in the late 70s out of Harvard around how we we build our sort of internal mental image of ourselves mostly through seeing ourselves in a mirror, in a mirror image. Now, when we see ourselves on screen, that's a flipped image, and so there is this disconnect, somewhere lurking in our heads, where we look at the image on screen and compare it to the image in the mirror and go, there's differences. But, our faces are not symmetrical. The human brain is an excellent pattern matcher, particularly when it comes to the human face. We that propensity for us to see to see faces in kind of random things, knots in trees. We do that because we are good at spotting faces, and so on some level we are seeing our face on screen and comparing it to that internal mental image we have, and picking up on subtle differences. Now, recently, there's been some studies done with some neural imaging studies, so looking at brain activity during the sort of exposure to these different images, and indeed, different parts of the brain are firing when you look at a picture of yourself in the mirror and when you look at a picture of yourself on screen. And so there's now a good understanding that actually we are on quite a fundamental neurological level seeing something different. But you can change that through familiarization. So what you were saying about having watched yourself on screen on Zoom for the last 6 months is a really important part of that process. That familiarization process rebuilds a self-image. And so you stop thinking of the person you're looking on screen as being something odd or unusual or slightly disconcerting, and it starts to be you. So I look at when I'm looking, so I've got the camera there, and below me I've got the screen so I can see that. I now look at that and think, yeah, that's me. But that's only come about as a result of doing regular video content. But one thing that I like to, you can sort of fast track this process a little bit. So here's tip number one. If you do not like being in front of the camera, or you do not see or recognize the person you see on screen, or you're hypercritical, or you're sort of, you sort of have a sort of involuntary shudder when you see yourself on the screen, as we all do at first, take a screenshot of yourself on screen, print it out, and stick it up in a few different places where you will see it for a significant portion of the day. And as you and in doing so over sort of days and weeks, you will very rapidly build up a kind of a new sort of understanding of yourself. And so that for some people has been really helpful in terms of effectively getting them over this notion that, when people see themselves on screen, say, I hate the way I look on screen. You wouldn't, okay, imagine this situation. Your friend has made a video. That friend comes to you and says, I've made a video. What do you think of it? You would never in a million years dream of turning around and saying, I hate the way you look on video. Yeah, we do it to ourselves. So, we know how damaging that would be to a friend or to anybody, frankly, to have someone saying, I hate the way you look at video. But if we do it to ourselves, we're okay with that. But actually, it's just as damaging, I think. You've got
we're just super critical, aren't we? I think, and again, not being funny, spending 45 minutes looking at your own face. And you try not to. Obviously, we were talking just before we went on air, actually, about obviously engaging with the camera rather than looking at your own face. But it does get distracting, isn't it? And I'm like, oh, my teeth are a bit wonky and my hair's a bit fuzzy. And actually, it's not the sort of thing that anybody else picks up on. I mean, Grace, very lovely, has put she's put a nice comment. I mean, that's nice, isn't it? Oh, I love Grace. She's my biggest cheerleader today. Apparently, I always look great. And again, you would say that to a friend, wouldn't you? But to yourself, you're always picking the little nitpicky things and voice. And it's just mad, isn't it? I just don't think actually people, when they're actually watching and looking at this, they don't pick up on that necessarily. I think a lot of the time they don't even hear what you're saying. And I don't know, obviously, if you've heard that most people just get a feeling of what's come across, Jane, rather than actually understanding every single word. And they're like, yeah, that was really inspirational. But could they pick it, Jane? They'll probably pick out a few sentences or a few key takeaways. But actually, it's what resonates with them, and they kind of get uplifted or inspired by a certain thing that you said. So Grace has also asked for some top tips on using tech more effectively. So I know obviously we were going to go through and ask a few questions. I know there was a few things on here, and obviously talking about tech is something a lot of people don't really know very much about it from that point of view, and obviously it's quite a big barrier for them. So it's not just the way they look or the way their voice sounds. A lot of people don't understand the tech, and I think, like you were saying, over the last 10 years, things have changed dramatically, haven't they? And now we can broadcast on our mobile phones, Jane, and do it on a daily basis. We can go live anytime, we can record, we can edit, we can put filters on, we could do so many things now. And I think filters especially, I see a lot of the younger generation, I mean, I've used them a couple of times maybe. But again, actual reality is a bit squiffy, isn't it? I think obviously you can kind of tailor it so it looks perfect, and everybody like Instagrams their perfect life, but nobody wants to be perfect, do they? Nobody wants to be perfect. And I think actually we've got to turn that on its head, and actually when you're more vulnerable, when the real you comes out, actually that's what kicks it off with people. It kind of really makes them resonate with you and go, oh yes, I've had that problem, yes, I feel like that. Because behind closed doors, life is not all peachy all the time, is it? And I think actually we've got to be a bit careful when we're doing video to keep it real as well, isn't it? And obviously just not make it this fairy tale that obviously is selling the dream.
Nobody wants that look. So, I think kind of the days are gone where perfect is what we're aiming for. So I started out, when I started out all those years ago, I did a few TV pilots for some daytime TV programs as a presenter. Yeah. And I kind of presented, I did a couple of pilots. They were art and antique shows because that was playing in my background. So I did these shows, of which the tapes exist somewhere, but they're locked in a lead-lined vault because nobody has seen them since.
Now they've said we're going to have to find them.
I know. I really do need to get them out because
it's early timing, isn't it?
But we made these pilots with this production company I was working for, sent them out. And, a few weeks later, they came back and they said, we love the idea. The letter from Channel 4 was the one that kind of that stung a little bit. We love the idea, but we just don't think Tom is TV gold.
Aww.
So
that's so sad.
I know. But what that did is it basically, I resolved at that point to go, I'm going to be the behind the camera guy. I'm going to help other people tell their stories. And it's only been the last kind of 4-ish years, and particularly in the last one, where I have got my mindset to a point where I'm like, no, I've got to be in front of the camera. So, you know, the tech is one of those things that gets in the way. But for a lot of people, it's the mindset. It's that stepping into the space first of all that can be the hardest point, and then the technology gets in the way. And so I'm just trying to think of a few tech tips. Okay, so here's a good tech tip. If you do nothing else, so there are going to be like 3 or 4 pieces of kit that are going to be worth getting in order to make your first video setup as good as possible without spending a lot of money. Because I think there's a sort of a feeling that somehow we've got to spend a lot to get it looking good. But actually, the cameras on the phones are so good that you don't need to be spending thousands of pounds. So actually, get yourself a cheapy tripod, a clamp for your phone, and most importantly of all, a microphone. The microphone is the one thing that will really raise the quality of your video content, because actually we can forgive slightly dodgy video quality, but people will not forgive bad audio quality. It's one of those things that kind of I often, you'll probably recognize this scenario, particularly when you're looking for a tutorial or something on YouTube. You go onto YouTube, you're looking for the tutorial. I did one recently because we had a fault with the dishwasher. I was like, I'm going to fix this myself. Well done. I got to YouTube, fix Bosch dishwasher, and I found it. And I thought, great, it was exactly the video I wanted. I clicked on it. The audio was almost unintelligibly bad. I was like, I can't use this. And so it was like, I clicked off. The information probably might have been perfect, but the poor audio quality meant that the experience of kind of accessing that information was really, really difficult. So as a first bit of kind of technology advice, I'd say, if you do nothing else, get a microphone, just a little cheap lav mic off Amazon. I do actually have a sort of a kit list, a purchase kit list, which is going to be available in a couple of days, because I've finally found, eked out a time to finish this list off. And it needs updating, but it needed updating, so I've now got a definitive list, and there's some microphone suggestions in there. But yeah, a microphone is a good place to start. The next thing that people get really kind of fretful about is the editing. So most people are quite sort of, once they've made the mindset step to get in front of the camera, they will start to play around in front of the camera and get their content. But then they film it and they go, what do I do with this? So pre-record. And the amount of times I've spoken to people who've gone, oh yeah, we've shot loads of video, we've just never edited any of them or used it or put it out. But yeah, we've made loads of videos, but they're no good if they're not actually out there. So you need to get an understanding, a really straightforward understanding of kind of the video the video editing process, because it could just be as simple as topping and tailing with a logo or something like that, or as you improve your editing skills, you can get more of a detailed kind of edit there. But as kind of users of video content, business owners very often come unstuck doing the editing process, because it's seen as a point where the technology gets too overwhelming. So unfortunately, there is no shortcut unless you want to you have two options: delegate or do it yourself. If you've got time but not a lot of money, you're going to have to invest some of your spare time in learning how to edit. If you've got the money but not a lot of time, give it to somebody else. So as with anything in business, get those things off your plate that are not in your zone of genius, as they say. I'm just gonna sorry, I'm just gonna put it on mute for a second. What's that?
That's okay. You have a little cough there. Hopefully nothing too drastic. But no, I think as I said, yeah, some fantastic tips. And again, I think yeah, I'm partial to it as well, Jane, actually getting it out there. And I set up our YouTube channel with the help of Darren a few months ago, Jane, and obviously there was times where I was just like, oh, I'll delegate it out, and it didn't quite happen the way and I was like, right, okay. And then I was like, oh, waiting, and I was like, actually, I'll just learn how to do this myself. Because sometimes, there's always an excuse, isn't there, why we don't do things and why we put off things till the next day. I think the editing side of things for me is something I've always cringed away from, because again, like I said to you just before we came on air, I'm more than happy now just talking live. That's absolutely fine. But again, because I'm still quite self-critical of myself when it comes to the editing part, I'm like, oh, can I not just have my voice on there instead of my face? Because actually, if you can play around with it, you want to make it perfect, isn't it? So I think, there's certainly ways of transitioning into getting video out there and obviously getting your message across, isn't there? I've got a little message here from Liz. Hello, Liz. Hi, lovely. Just saying she was going to catch up and watch it all later. It sounds very valuable. Thank you both. She's going into a meeting. But yeah, it's great. As I said, obviously, we're going to be putting these onto YouTube as well. So do come and obviously like us and follow us on our YouTube channel, which is just Ambition Growth Network. So yeah, have a little look there. And as I said, you'll be able to catch up with all of the spotlights that we've done. So that's good stuff, isn't it? So I think obviously what we aim to do with Ambition Growth Network is to really give all of our members the opportunity to get out there. And I think actually a lot of the feedback I've had afterwards was, well, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Because actually it just feels like me and you are having a little chat, and we don't realise that other people are watching and interacting from that point of view. And it feels a lot more comfortable when you're doing it with somebody else perhaps as well, isn't it? And kind of not having those big gaps and not having kind of worrying about what to say. Obviously, sometimes a rehearsed video I find really, really difficult because I can't keep those things in my head. My head just wants to say something different to what is coming out of my mouth or is written on the script. And I find that really, really difficult. And like you said, obviously, about your TV experience, actually, I was on TV quite early on in my career. I was on Homes Under the Hammer. And I actually did quite a few series with them. And it absolutely petrified me. But I knew that I needed to do it. And nobody else in the whole office. So I was working for a corporate estate agency at the time, and I was 21, only recently started, didn't really know what I was doing. And I said, I went down to the auctions, and it really interested me, actually, obviously, what it went on from that point of view. And I used to watch Homes Under the Hammer, and I was like, oh, I could be on Homes Under the Hammer, how exciting, I'll be famous. But actually, watching it back with my friends and family, like you were saying earlier about people not being critical, all of them were super critical. And I was like, oh, really? I was like, oh no. And the thing is, the way that they'd edited it, so actually what happened is we did, like today, 45 minutes of just chit-chatting, walking around. It was all very comfortable. But the way they had edited it together just made me look like a complete plonker. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. And I remember one person sat there and they were like, you've said the word obviously 24 times. I was like,
were you counting?
I was like, and they literally counted and watched it back and counted. I was like, oh my days. And it was my go-to word of, instead of saying or I'm not sure, everyone always told me not to do that. So I put in a word, and obviously was the word that just popped into my head. And everyone was like, well, that's not obvious. I was like, oh crap, this is not the word to use, is it? Because for me, everything was obvious. So obviously this and obviously, but they cut it together. And I must have said obviously a lot, but they cropped it together. So it was like, obviously this and obviously that. And obviously, so I said it so many times together. And I was just like, oh, it really put me off for ages actually going on TV again or kind of having video, because I was like, actually, what happens if I do say the word obviously too much? People are going to take the piss out of me. And they did. But actually now I don't care. I don't care if people take the piss out of me. That's fine, isn't it? I obviously don't give a shit. So
I think that's an interesting point about sort of increased visibility. I mean, another thing that people get worried about is what people are going to say. And actually, you are always going to get a certain amount of people who come out of the woodwork when they see you starting to be visible and present, because it's just, there are always going to be those kind of people who want to knock people down when they rise up.
I know. And it's one of those things, isn't it? Obviously, should never listen to people below you, only the ones above, because the ones above are never going to knock you down, because they know that they've been through that barrier of those that kind of self-belief side of things, isn't it? And I think obviously we put these barriers in our way, but why do we do it? Why do we do it? What's your thought on that? Why do we put barriers in our way when we're, from a psychological point of view? Why do you reckon we do that?
So I can only speak from my personal experience and things that other people have sort of told me about their experiences. Very often, it is for fear of what might happen. So actually, the what might happen if I get more visible, it can range from what people being worried. What if I do get successful? That can be a worry.
Fear of success, yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of people get that, actually, isn't it? Because again, not all good things come with success, is it? And I think,
but it's actually people worrying that things are that people from earlier in their lives, because none of us have got straightforward lives. None of us have got straightforward lives, and people come out of the woodwork if they see you there. But the great thing is
with my son, actually, and I think sometimes I can be quite critical in the way when he's learning, and I'll say, "Oh no, that's not how you say that word," but the thing is, he does it back to me. So when he's watching videos on YouTube, he's like, "Mum, that wasn't how the story was. You did this, not that." And I'm like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Did I lie?" But again, the way we retell a story, because it's a bit fluid, and it might be from 10 years ago, and you're not going to remember every single detail. And again, people don't want to hear the nitty-gritty. They want to get the overall feel of the story across, isn't it? And I think sometimes I can be a bit cautious about saying something that's not perhaps 100% true, because obviously I've forgotten a little bit of it, and then you're kind of like thinking, oh, are the people watching going to pick up on that? Are they going to kind of comment on it? Will I get in trouble? Will this happen? Will that happen? It's very tricky, isn't it?
And the great thing is we have block buttons on social media. You can stop if somebody does come at them. Just go block, get out of my life.
It's interesting, isn't it? I was watching the other day, actually, someone that does a lot of lives on Facebook, and they were talking all about haters. And obviously these people that obviously will just come on and just troll you for no reason, just for shits and giggles. And I think, and they were like, well, you haven't made it unless you've got a troll. And I was like, oh,
exactly. I want some troll.
Oh, that's exciting, isn't it? And actually, I got my first troll the other day, and I was like,
it's a badge of honor.
It's about your mindset, isn't it? It's about your mindset, because before that would have really kind of hit hard. I think actually when you do get out there a little bit more, you've got to put your boundaries up. You've got to put this kind of protective layer around you, a little bubble, to allow yourself just to be who you are and shine from that point of view. I've got Emma.
You're making enough noise.
Oh, she is watching. So hello, lovely Emma. Nice to see you. She says, I hear you. The barriers make us feel safe. And I think, as I said, we talk about comfort zones, don't we? And actually, especially when we're feeling in fear, our comfort zones really kind of keep us quite happy and kind of make us feel a bit loved and like a little comfort blanket, isn't it? And a lot of people are like, get out of your comfort zone. It's not something I kind of preach and not something I really adhere to, because I think, well, why on earth would you jump out of your comfort zone? Instead, stretch your comfort zone in a nice way that actually it's a much nicer way of doing, isn't it? Because actually you just feel comfortable all the way and take baby steps to just, rather than throwing yourself in the deep end and nearly drowning, having post-traumatic stress about it and kind of really kind of make or break, Jane, rather than do that, start little, isn't it? And actually by being on Zoom calls, and that's really pulled me out of my comfort zone a little bit from that point of view, but it's been not monumental, but it's been step by step, isn't it? I think, but that's the best way to grow, slow and steady, isn't it? And then obviously,
those incremental steps. With all of us doing, God, I wouldn't like to guess how many hours I spent on Zoom calls, because I'm working currently for a Chinese tech company, but they're a global company, right. And so I've been having, meetings at all hours of the day with kind of Philippines, Singapore, Brazil, different parts of America, China and kind of Germany. It's been non-stop. And I got to the end of one day not too long ago. I was like, I've been on Microsoft Teams video calls for 10 hours today. And you kind of go, oh, but I'm not comfortable with being on video after doing that. It's like there's literally nothing more I can do. But you know, my experience is not necessarily unusual. I know people who are on it as much as me, and that has just increased exponentially over the last 6 months. And I think now people are comfortable enough with it, because I think before, you know, meeting on a Zoom call or whatever was a relatively rare experience. It was like, we do it, but now it's like I'd much rather do it, because it means I don't have to get out of my pajamas, which is,
you have to leave the house. We save on petrol, we save the environment. But again, I think obviously as humans, we do crave that interaction, isn't it? And as I said, obviously this is the next best thing to meeting in person. You can connect with people, you can see the eye contact, you can almost feel like you're in the room. But I don't know about you, obviously on Zoom calls, people do change when you record them. When you hit that record button, people do change, Jane. They get a little bit more uptight, they get a little bit more nervous, they're a bit more cautious about what they say, how they interact with the group from that point of view, isn't it? And I think, again, Zoom calls one-to-one, I really enjoy, Jane. And the one-to-many, actually, Jane, for me, I'm actually at a place now that I look forward to it and really thrive on it. But again, I know so many people that still don't like it. They'll hide behind their little picture. And obviously, again, we've got to respect everybody from that point of view, isn't it? Sven's popped something on there. So he's one of our lovely members as well. He's doing some stuff about boundaries. So I like the idea of stretching.
Yeah.
I think, it's definitely a nice way in introducing it, isn't it, from that point of view, and actually just stretching it to make it feel normal again, isn't it, from that point of view? If there is anything
expand, and you expand your boundaries, then you personally fill that new space with your confidence levels, and you get it to a point where you can just you can stretch it again a little bit more, and then before you know it, you're operating in a way and in a place that you look back 6 months and go, how did I get here? It's just happened. But you have to build the small steps in. This is why taking it through strategy, mindset, tech, and story, and kind of breaking it down, moving your mastery levels on each of those areas in video along in tiny little notches, and before you know it, you've built a way of working that is kind of that is able to let you deliver your passion, your expertise with video to the right people. And I think that the idea of expanding boundaries rather than breaking them is a really nice one.
That's really lovely. I think it's a bit like learning to drive a car, isn't it? Obviously, when my daughter was learning to drive her car, obviously for her it was just such a big change. Jane, she's driven in the passenger seat, but to sit behind and be in charge of it as well, and actually knowing that obviously if things go wrong, they can go wrong. And I think obviously there's so many things to consider, isn't it? And I think actually when you do video, like you were saying earlier about having a plan, having preparation, making sure the audience is right, making sure the visuals are right, making sure obviously you haven't got anything behind you in the background that's not right, making sure your seat's at the right height. There's so many things, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I do think of it a bit like driving, isn't it? You kind of get in your seat and you put your seatbelt on, look at the mirrors and do this and do that and prepare for it. And actually the difference that you see with the people that do a little bit of preparation about kind of understanding what they want to talk about, especially when on lives, because some people can just waffle and then get really distracted and not really give any content, or kind of don't really know. You can see that they're really nervous and kind of just sit there going, oh, is anybody out there, and checking the tech. And kind
of, my pet. This is the one that if I say don't do this, when people go live and go, I'm just going to wait a few minutes and see if anybody turns up. It's like, don't do that.
People that obviously are already there, isn't it? Just get in there. Get in there. Yeah. And I think actually, it's a tricky one, because when I go live on here, because again, it's going into so many different places, I always look a bit distracted. They could do with almost having a big live thing that pops up in the middle, so you're not looking at this teeny tiny little thing that says you are live. Because again, you think to yourself, well, you don't want to give over all your content in the first 30 seconds, which which sometimes, obviously, when you're nervous, you want to just get it out there. But again, it's learning to be a bit slower with it, to calm yourself down. I always talk too quickly, and people are like, "Oh, Joe, you talk too quickly." I think it's just my energy. I want to just get that across. And again, it can, especially with this, because you can go back and watch it, so you can recap on anything that you didn't perhaps pick up on. And again, what we'll do after we finish as well, obviously, you've kindly sent over some links of really cool stuff. And again, obviously, if you can pop on your top tips with regards to purchasing kind of the tech side of things to really enhance it. As I said, obviously, we can go live just with our phones. But as I said, obviously, from a professional point of view, especially if we're using video for our businesses, again, it can really set us apart if we do things a little bit differently, isn't it? And I said, I think that's the one thing I've got from working with you guys over there is just obviously, putting a top and tail kind of on your video. You can make it look so much more professional. You can put a action. You can put like words over the top of it. You can do certain things to actually just improve the actual visibility and the user quality as well, isn't it? Because
again, that's it. But all of that stuff has to be secondary to the messaging and the story, because once you've nailed your messaging and nailed your story, and you're talking to the right people, all that other stuff is augmentation. All that other stuff improves the user experience. And so if the main job is to kind of connect with your ideal audience, because it's those people who will get you, and those people that are going to be the ones who are going to be the most fun to work with. And that's really what it's got to be all about. Connect with the people, use video to connect with the people that you actually want to work with.
Definitely. This is the thing, isn't it? And actually, when people see you and see who you are and what you talk about, and I think a lot of videos and kind of spotlights that I've done in the past were sort of 5, 10, 15-minute ones, which were great, but you feel like you've got to squeeze in so quickly everything that you are. And I think sometimes, which is why we do a bit more of a relaxed one here at ADM for 45 minutes, because I think sometimes you kind of really just need to settle into a video and actually be in your own zone, isn't it, from that point of view? Because I think otherwise you're just reeling off like a CV of everything that you've got to do so quickly. It just feels really false. It doesn't feel like you're connected with people. And again, I understand that not everyone's going to watch the full kind of one from that point of view, and that's absolutely fine, isn't it? But I think for us actually to be able to get that message out there about what you do, who you help, what your audience is. And actually, I mean, you're quite a pro on the old video from that point of view, aren't you? But a lot of the other people in the group, for them, it's quite a scary process, Jane. And there's some people that have stepped into that. As I said, we've got a few people watching today that have come on and been in front of that. And really, it's really kind of improved their confidence from that point of view and got customers out of it, Jane, obviously, from that point of view. So before we finish, obviously, we always like to give you the opportunity to really give you a bit of a promo, I suppose, isn't it? So tell us about your company, what you offer, and what kind of help that you would like from our members and obviously other people in the groups.
Okay, so Video Track is my company. I run it with my wife Una. Una's currently working for the NHS. When we moved down to Plymouth, Una said, "I'm going to take a little sabbatical from the business. I'm going to go and get myself a nice, easy, relaxed comms job, work for the NHS." Sort of go in at 9, leave at 5, no problem. So she started, and a month later, COVID hit. So it was like, okay, slightly. It's been really full on, but very, very rewarding, very exciting. So Video Track is my company, but we are kind of in that position where we have always been educators and always taught people how to make video themselves. So we have a group that we run called Grow Your Business with Video, and that's a free group, and that's where people can come and join to learn about some of the video making techniques. Now, we will later this year be launching a video academy, as we're calling it. That's going to be a one to many tutoring and kind of learning process, where we'll take people through all those 4 kind of pillars that I was talking about, and over a sort of a 10-11 week process, kind of turn people into filmmakers. So the kind of the help that I'm looking for at the moment is, one, to get the word out about the group. There's about 450 members at the moment, and it's been it's been great fun. I really love it.
I've been a member now for several months.
Yes, and it's lots
of exciting things.
We get some great people coming in. lots of kind of, many a cocktail has been drunk on Thursday night on a content and cocktails, where I sit down and take a deep dive into something kind of video related and slowly kind of
I love that. I think it's much more fun, isn't it? It's just a bit more relaxed, and I think actually, just enjoy it, because I think work and business doesn't have to be stressful. I think it's something, especially in the UK, it's almost a badge of honour, isn't it? If you've worked 90 hours a week and you're stressed out and you're busy all the time. But actually, we've got to learn to break that down a bit, isn't it? And just enjoy and work with flow and just enjoy the process. And if it doesn't feel like work, it makes us a much better person, isn't it? And I think actually more comfortable we can get with video. And actually, us talking now, Jane, we're just sat in our houses talking together. There's many people watching us. There's going to be many people watching the video. And actually, our message can get out to a lot bigger audience than it would be if we ended up having 56 one-to-one meetings, isn't it? So I think, embrace the technology, and obviously, look at systemising.
I love it. It's a great tool, and I love getting people comfortable with it. Carly is watching.
Yay! I'm going to put her up on there. Hey, Carly. Woo. So lovely to see you. She's always busy on Friday. She's got so much stuff going on, bless her. So it's nice that she's popped on the live this morning. So and great, as I said, obviously, that we can share this within our groups as well. But after we finish, Tom, can you pop a little link, obviously, to your free group in the comments below? I think that'd be really great for obviously anybody that wants to join in, learn a little bit more about it. And as I said, again, it's all about community, isn't it? And helping one another. And Tom's tips really do make a big difference, because I said, obviously, there's certain things that you kind of do and you're worried about. Then one person will say something and you're like, oh my God, why did I think of that? So it's really, and actually learning from other people just works, doesn't it? And I think actually we're all very supportive in all the groups here, and I think it's really, really nice.
AGN is fabulous. I really enjoyed the event, being there. It was the value of taking the online into the offline world with on the Drake Island. That was lovely. So it's a great group. I can highly recommend it to anybody who's watching this, and kind of it's money well spent, because it's a wonderful community, and there's a lot of value to be had.
Definitely. And again, being surrounded by like-minded people that are all on the same sort of journey to grow their business, to network, but also to learn along the way as well, from a personal development point of view, as well as obviously through your business as well, isn't it? So love it. So thank you so much, Tom. It's been
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. It's been absolutely amazing, and I really appreciate obviously you spending your time with us this morning. So thank you so much to Tom. Carly says, hey, you lovely people. Oh, she's so lovely as well. Thank you, Carly. Much appreciated. So thank you ever so much for your time today. And again, if anybody's got any questions, anything they want to ask, obviously, if they're doing it on the catch-up on the replay, I said just pop that in the comment box, either on the Coronavirus Business Support Group or on the AGM page, and I'm sure Tom will help you out. That'd be good. Nice one, Sally. All right. Thank you, Tom.
Bye. Take care. Bye.
Oh, so that was the amazing Tom Stanhope, and I said I've only known him this year, and already it makes me feel like I've known him forever. He's become a really valuable member of our team, and again can help us out with all of the techie side of things from that point of view. So just going to finish off with a little plug about AGN. So AGN stands for Ambition Growth Network, and we've got a fantastic membership group of entrepreneurs, really ambitious entrepreneurs that are looking at growing their business across the whole of the UK and networking with people, but also using that network for referrals and personal development and growth from that point of view. So if you are thinking of joining us, do just obviously check out our website. We are at www.ambitiongrowthnetwork.co.uk, and we also have a really awesome app which is free of charge to download. Get on that one, and that is Ambition Growth Network. Either find it on Apple or the Google Play. So do connect with us if you are interested in finding out more about what we do. As I just send us a little message, and we'll be more than happy to have a little one-to-one with you. So thank you guys. Take care. Have a nice day. Bye.